Hey guys, Poverty Point Customs here. What we're going to do today is replace my carburetor on my 2003 Bombardier Quest 650. So the reason why we're going to do that is the bike's starting to run a little rough, and the carburetor is 18 years old, I would say original, and it's probably never been rebuilt. As well, the float's sticking, and I'm getting a lot of gas leaking from underneath the carburetor from the bowl. So in the long run, it's a lot easier just actually replacing the carburetor and putting a brand new one on that I purchased off Amazon, and it was around $95 Canadian delivered to the home. And let's take a look at the new carburetor. So the new carburetor comes with a fuel filter, so we'll do an inline fuel filter. And there's a look at the new carburetor. So let's get the seat off. So before we take out the old carburetor, you want to make sure your fuel's in the off position. So what we're going to do first is remove the vent line. This vent line goes to your air box. You're going to take some needle nose, slide that off. What you're going to want to do next is we have a Phillips screw there. We're going to loosen that up, and one right there. This holds the carburetor onto the motor, and this end goes to your air box. So we're going to loosen those up so we can slide the carburetor out, and then we'll start disconnecting it. All right, so once both those clamps are disconnected, we should be able to wiggle it out. So this is your throttle cable. So what we need to do is unscrew right here. We're actually going to have to use this part here on the new carburetor. As well, we're going to have to take out 3 screws here, and we'll disconnect the cable on the inside of here. All right, once you get the cover off here, you need to push this forward. You can see the cable's loosened up there. And we just need to slide it out. It's got a little retainer here. And just like that, that part there comes off. Unscrew this. There you go, your throttle cable's disconnected. So what you have to do next is disconnect your choke cable. So you just have to unscrew right here. And it should just pull right out. That's your choke cable. And the last thing we need to disconnect is your fuel line. Goes into the bottom of the carburetor right by your fuel bowl right there. So it's just a matter of unscrewing your clamp. You may get a little bit of fuel coming out. And there we go. There's the old carburetor. And again, all these screws at the bottom are all completely stripped. I could have ground them down or whatnot to take these off, but by the time you buy a rebuild kit for this, you may as well put a brand new carburetor on it. So I installed the inline fuel filter. Now I need to get some proper hose clamps, but I installed it right here. That way I'm able to keep an eye on the filter and it's not buried underneath the bike. And again, when you put these on, there's only one direction that they actually flow. The flow is towards the carburetor. So here's our new carburetor matched up with our old carburetor. So you want to make sure everything's the exact same size on the carburetor and everything's set up the same way, so you don't have any surprises when you're putting it together. It's going to look nice with a nice new shiny carburetor under the bike, and hopefully everything's set up, so we'll start up the first try there. All right, So here's the new carburetor. What we want to do is install it in reverse order, how we took it out. So first thing that we're going to do is take off the side cover. We're going to install the fuel line first on the bottom of the carburetor. Then we're going to install the choke cable. And then we're going to install the throttle cable. And then we'll get it situated in between the boots and squeeze it in there and tighten everything up. As well as the last part is usually the vent hose on the side of the carburetor, because we can easily access that too. So just a little tip, there's a rubber gasket that's right here. When you move this carburetor around, that's going to want to fall out. So just take a little bit of white lithium grease and put it around the gasket, and that will actually hold it in so it doesn't fall out on you. All right, so let's get the fuel line hooked up. And also too, when you're routing this down by the motor, make sure it stays away from your drive shaft so it doesn't get caught up in it. All right, so what we're going to do next is install the choke cable. So I actually took off the plastic part that came on the new carburetor, and we're going to use the existing one. So this here is just a matter of screwing this in on the side. Get it lined up. And if you put your choke on, it makes it a lot easier to try to get this in. Just want to point out, in the new carburetor, when I was putting in the choke cable, there's this part in the new carburetor that's right in there. You actually have to take this out in order for you to be able to use your existing choke cable. As you can see, that's the old carburetor and the new one looks identical. Alright, so we're going to install the throttle cable next. So here's our throttle cable. We're going to feed the cable through the little hole right here. And then we're just going to screw this in just a couple threads. And there's our throttle cable right here. So what you're going to have to do is take this little brass fitting, and you're going to put it on just like that. So you're going to need to move your throttle more or less forward. And what you want to do is get this in that hole. There's a little pressure on it here. It's definitely a two-handed job. And push it down, and you can see it's clamped in there now. So this little piece actually holds the cable in, and then we're going to tighten this down. Then you're going to want to put on your side cover next. Just has 4 screws. Alright, so we got our cover on here. I tighten this up. So what we want to do is actually put the carburetor in, and we want to squeeze it in between the 2 boots. This is a little bit tedious, but once it's in, it's in. One thing I will say, it's easier getting it on the front boot that's by your engine. You tighten this up, and then we'll take the top of the air breather off. That way we'll be able to push the boot forward into the carburetor. Alright, so we got the carb on the front and back boot. So we're going to put the airbox cover back on. Alright, so just taking a look at it here now. So we put the breather line back on too. So we got it on nice and tight on the front and the back of the carburetor. And I've tried the fuel line as well as the clutch, and it's engaging nice and smooth. Alright, so I'm going to turn the bike over a few times. See if we can get some fuel flowing through the fuel filter. Yep. There's a fuel filter, so we'll turn the bike over. There we go. So let's try to start her. Choke on. Alright, so it's the next day, so let's just take a look at the carburetor in the daylight here. And there's the other side of the carburetor. Just want to make a note, in the video at the beginning I said I was going to use the existing needle that goes in for the choke. However, I actually used the one that came with this. And there's the fuel filter. I'm actually going to reroute this. I don't want it sitting right beside the battery, so I'm going to reroute it so it's a little closer to the fuel tank. Alright, so let's do a cold start on this. There you go, just a short tutorial on how to replace your carburetor on a 03 Bombardier Quest 650. Again, I got this off Amazon, and it was just under $100 delivered. And again, it included a fuel filter also. So I'm quite pleased. It's very simple to do. Recommend doing this over rebuilding your factory one that's almost 2 decades old. Again, it's brand new, and literally you could do this replacement in about a half hour. Anyways, I hope this helps some folks out there. I'll do a long-term durability test on the carburetor as well as this bike in the next few months, and we'll see how it's holding up. But if you have any questions or comments, make sure you post them below. If not, thanks for watching. Remember to hit that subscribe button, and again, if you have any questions, post them below. Take care.